In the meantime, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to strike every target of the Ayatollah regime in Iran as Israel's air campaign against Iranian military and nuclear sites enters its second day. In a video message released on Saturday, Netanyahu declared that Israeli aircraft will soon be seen in the skies over Tehran, emphasizing that every site and every target will be hit. He claimed that Israeli strikes have already dealt a real blow to Iran's nuclear program since operations began on Friday.
בזמן הקרוב ביותר אתם תראו את מטוסי ישראל, את חיל האוויר של ישראל, הטייסים שלנו, מעל שמי טהרן. אנחנו נפגע בכל אתר, בכל מטרה של משטר האייתולות, ומה שהם הרגישו עד עכשיו הוא כאין וכאפס למה שהם ירגישו תחת נחת זרוענו בימים הקרובים.
To discuss more about this, we're joined by a foreign policy analyst, Bolu Michael-Biyi. Bolu, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this.
Thank you for having me.
So, judging by the context of the need to discontinue the nuclear program, is Israel right to have launched offensive strikes into Iran?
Well, I think it depends on the side you're on. Some would argue that it's justifiable because, Israel is saying that they took such steps, to prevent Iran from proliferating its nuclear program. And based on that, they would say that it's justifiable. And there's another school of thought that would say that Iran, they are part of the nuclear non-proliferation program, and they have the right to own a nuclear weapon for peaceful purpose. And the fact that diplomacy was still on the table, they would also argue that Israel was not in order for them to, launch such strikes. So it really depends on what side you belong. But I personally believe that the move by Israel, it's in tandem or is in cooperation with the United States in order to force Iran to sign a nuclear deal with the USA.
But then, there's a legal maxim that says that evil comes to equity must come with clean hands. Israel too has neither confirmed nor denied having nuclear weapons. So why would they want to force Iran into signing a deal to halt the program?
Well, I agree with you. He who must come to equity must come with clean hands. I'm a lawyer, and we say ex topic causa non originatio, which means that which explains the maxim in Latin. Yeah. So as you said, Israel is believed to have nuclear weapons, and they've never really admitted, and they've not denied it at the same time. They're also not part of the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. They're not signatories to it, which means that they are not their nuclear program is not being supervised by any any independent body or organization. Iran, on the other part, they've never really denied having nuclear weapon, and they are part of the treaty, and which means that their activities are being supervised by the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is the UN body in charge of nuclear weapons and the likes. So, however, even though Iran has been accused several times of going overboard in terms of their limits, I still believe that Israel is not in any moral position to demand accountability on the part of Iran when their own program is secretive.
Then we have on the fringes the U.S. President Donald Trump, who seems to be neither here nor there about the preemptive strikes into Iran. Does that reek of hypocrisy and maybe complicity?
Yeah, I believe so. I think that's hypocrisy at the highest order and at the highest level. President Trump was earlier was warning Israel, of not disturbing the peace talks with Iran, and the moment the Israel struck Iran, he was the first to praise them for doing so, and he also said that that Israel has no part in it. And my question is that why, if Israel, if USA, has no hand in it, if USA does not have a hand in it, then why were they shooting down missiles coming from Iran into Israel. That's direct involvement in it. So it's hypocrisy and complicity, and it's not good because things escalate the issues. This thing creates mistrust, and it's not befitting of a president of the United States.
So talking about escalation now, Biyi, Israel has rejected calls for restraint, saying that the attack would be intensified. So are we looking at an all-out regional war breaking out in the Middle East that could even drag U.S. into it?
Yes, there's a possibility because each side they have their own allies, and for example, Israel has the United States on its side, and the moment Iran targets U.S. bases or they lose any of their forces on ground, they've the U.S. is becoming part of it already, and also on the part of Iran, they also have their allies in Iran, in Iraq, the militia there. We have Hezbollah in Lebanon, and we have the Houthis in Yemen. And these groups or these countries are not friends of Israel and the USA as well. So they can they can support Iran, and that would lead to a full-scale regional war. And the effect of this is that we might see people are definitely going to be displaced, and we might see that all riots are being disrupted, and also the global markets. Even the war between Russia and Ukraine, we see how much it destabilized the world. And if we get into another war, a full-scale regional war in another part of the world, then it's going to affect everyone, one way or the other.
That's true. Now, Israel also said that Iran will burn, and you know that when Israel talks like that, we know that there's no going back and there's no one to actually restrain it. So, what do you think the best and probably the surest way of de-escalating this crisis should be or could be?
Yeah, I would say there's a best way, but maybe not the surest way. I think the best way, at this point is to engage in high-level diplomacy. I think the first step is to have a ceasefire. Let the bombs stop flying between one country and the other, and then they should try to resume the talks, try to negotiate, try to have the discussion. And regional players like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Qatar, they can put pressure on both parties, to reduce tension as much as possible. And the country should allow independent inspectors, to view their facilities. If Iran has said already that their nuclear facilities for peaceful purpose, but why are they, preventing inspection? So if it's indeed for purpose, then they should allow for inspection if they have nothing to hide, and both parties too must sit down and sign an agreement for future non-aggression. That they should always sign an agreement that they will always sit down and talk about these things instead of exchanging bombs.
Well, we know how Israel can be defiant when it comes to stopping attacks like this, but we hope that there will be some diplomacy applied by other neutral parties to end this. Thank you so much, Bolu Michael-Biyi, for sharing your thoughts with us on the news.